Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest, Pariah, singer, songwriter, rapper, producer.
Thanks, yeah. Don't know
Anything
what
else
it's
to
about.
add to that? Did I miss anything else off the list?
No, yeah, just aspiring producer, yeah. Bang on.
And one of the cooler people I follow on Instagram, one of the, real people that always say.
Oh,
And that's what I try and get on my show, like the real people that I say, you know what, she's cool or he's cool or whatever. Let me get them on and have a chat. Today we're talking about mental health, music, and yeah, kind of how, one connects with the other and kind of or helps the other, shall I say. Yeah, so talk about your mental health, Pariah. Were you diagnosed with your mental health?
yeah, so nothing was very linear as
Mm,
well. Before I start, should probably give a bit of a disclaimer, and two, a bit of a like trigger warning.
cool.
Um, Obviously, we're talking about mental health, so there is mentions of suicidal ideation and a few things like that. So yeah, trigger warning for
Okay.
people. And disclaimer, obviously, like what works for me might not work for everyone. Depression manifests so differently in everyone. And it was also anxiety I was finally diagnosed with. So those two. But yeah, I'll start. um, so yeah, it wasn't very linear. I actually was only diagnosed with the two um, when I started university. So that was actually a year ago. I'm in my second year, a year or two ago. Um, and yeah, it was more out of necessity. I knew that being back in an education situation after college was years ago for me,
Yeah.
so I knew that would bring up some things of kind of a lot of anxiety socially and just like workload wise, and I knew that okay, if I end up needing support, I might as well have that in place. And I just had to discuss my symptoms, get officially diagnosed. It was quite a simple process, to be fair. And then I would, I can access support when I need it around that, and I have a mentor just to kind of check in with me weekly around workload and things like that. So yeah, but I've dealt with especially depression for over 10 years.
Wow.
And I knew quite early on it was that. I knew it wasn't kind of normal how I was feeling. I knew it wasn't
Mm,
just being a teenager at the time. So
yeah.
yeah, I
The,
was
the
diagnosed.
funny thing is, I think it is normal, but it's just the degrees you have it. So some of us deal with it, struggle with it more than others. But I
Yeah,
think everyone has some degree of it. They may not own up to it, of their downs, the times they feel low. You're human, so you have downs. It's just the degree and how much impact that has on your life, kind of. Because I always
yeah,
think about that sometimes. I'm like, when people say, "Oh no, I'm never anxious. I'm never depressed. And I'm like, really? I'm sure
yeah.
you have
Well,
moments.
even
Of,
kind of
yeah, go
what's
on.
the word, like scientifically, we all have to experience some level of
That's what.
anxiety to protect ourselves. I think depression is like more of like this thing that we're still finding out about, and there's
Mm,
still such conflicting views and information about it. So as far as like the idea of everyone having it, it's a little bit like the idea of, oh, everyone's on the autism spectrum to an extent. Everyone
yeah,
experience some symptoms. Some people are
yeah.
more introverted. There's things like that. I guess it's when, like, a lot of the criteria for diagnosis is when it affects you on a daily basis. It hinders your life quite drastically, obviously to different levels, and also the cycles of it. Whether it's
Mm.
like, even like seasonal depression every winter? Do you get really, really down? Probably everyone does to an extent.
That's the
Again,
thing.
in England with this weather, but I do feel like there's a difference between, I think what confuses me is that there's so many things to touch on there, because obviously grief isn't depression, but it can lead to that, and it,
Right.
that's a whole different form, and you can have periods of sadness. But I think what makes it particularly kind of difficult to pinpoint, talk about, process, is when you can't get yourself out of bed, you can't get yourself going, and people are just going, "Oh, just come on, just come on, just get up, just get on with things." And that's where it's like, okay, you haven't experienced it, because I can't even understand why I can't just get up and get on with
Mm,
things. But there'll be a few days where I'm like that, and yeah, it's a lot to it can be linked to all different things, and I think
definitely.
an understanding
There's
will
a
be
lot. There's a lot more
helpful.
to it, isn't it? No, it's not so cut and dry as saying, "Oh, it's just this."
Yeah,
These other things it connects with, and that we do
yeah.
in life, and can
That's
have.
why, like, I might be all over the place in this conversation, because it's just like so much to talk about, and
Don't
a
worry
lot of
about.
things I don't know.
I've got a similar mind where I'm all over the place as well, so it's all right. We can let the
Great.
viewers make some sense of what we're going on about. It's all right.
I
Or the
think that's
editing.
great as well.
Or the editing. How did you feel after you was diagnosed? What was your
Um,
feelings and thought process?
no different, to be honest. Um, it it I knew there was going to be value in having that piece of paper, or that
Definitely.
label, or whatever, just to feel a little bit validated in, like, okay, you know, seeing things in my peripheral vision
Mm,
when I'm very highly anxious, like, kind of, I haven't really told many people about this, but like, just like black figures and kind of this weird thing isn't just an everyday occurrence. It's like, I would like some help with that. Like, it's, to have those symptoms discussed, validated, kind of labeled in a positive sense, just to be like, we can name this is what it is.
yeah,
And that's how
definitely.
you then obviously improve a condition. So it was validating, but it was the same old for me, to be honest. I'd known for over 10 years, so.
So what do you think when you look at it and you, because I've suffered with I suffer with anxiety, and I've had
Yeah.
bouts of depression as well.
Mm,
I was dealing with grief for losing my dad and things. So
mm.
when you look back and you think about the signs when it came on, or what triggered it, or what were you struggling with that you
Mm.
thought led you down that path, or into that type of mindset?
It's really, yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. I think there's still an element of like, oh, is there something else to it, in the sense
Mm.
of, is there another condition attached to it? I don't know. There's some things that I experience that don't really, yeah, I don't know. It's confusing, isn't it? And labels kind of help to an extent, but like I said, they're very validating, and I do think it's important. Um, but I think initially, like, it's weird, because the first thing I remember being like very, very upset about and just couldn't get over was quite just a normal thing. I think it was like my first breakup when I was like kind of
Oh, really?
14. But I think I think that was attached to a lot of things. I think you could, with a lot of things, you can almost just trace it back, trace it back, trace it back, and it's just lots of little events or little
And
ways in your life. So I think the fact that that breakup was so kind of sad, like horrible for me, was because of kind of my attachment styles. Great, like, therapy term and thing to look into, really helpful. Just like, um like, socially, I always struggled, and I think from being a toddler, like, it's very normal to kind of, sorry, I'm gonna feel like I'm going off on loads of tangents,
no,
but
that's fine. It's fine.
it's the nature of the conversation.
It's
So
about
I'll
you, Pariah, today anyway. It's not about me, it's about you. So if you want to do that, it's fine.
Thanks. um, I think you can take your, again, I'm going to seem random, but you can take your toddler to a class and they can kick and scream and be like, "You're not leaving here, mom. I'm
Mm.
going with you. Like, don't leave me here." And like, um, that, that's pretty normal occurrence, but obviously it's a form of anxiety, but it can be like so extreme. Um, and I don't know, I just remember like having lots of very extreme emotional reactions to any type of like me being like, yeah, lots of experiences, like just socially and just me being out doing stuff I wasn't comfortable with, or um, I don't want to go into like silly examples, but I was just a very anxious child socially, to cut it short.
No, I hear you.
Um,
I hear you. And
so
that's
for me,
kind of, yeah, go on.
sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's kind of what you struggled with, was this whole anxiety about, you know, meeting others, in environments where there's lots of people, maybe,
Yeah, 100%.
speaking to, if you had to do a presentation in front of a, you
Oh my God, I had a meltdown. That's another one.
oh,
I
no,
was,
I get that, and it's, but when you look back, it's probably uh, accumulation of things that have triggered this and got you to this point. Because that's what I
yeah.
think. When I was really bad, was getting panic attacks and things like that. I was
Oh, the worst.
I was looking at. I was thinking back, and I was thinking, you know what? It's because I never processed things up until
Yeah,
this
yeah.
point. I never gave
100%.
myself time to heal or speak to others about that situation I was going through.
That's the bottling up and the explosion they talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's the trauma. I've not dealt with the trauma I felt, and
Yeah,
um, the PTSD after
yeah,
the trauma, about what it was, that wasn't processed and that wasn't dealt with. So you kind of
yeah,
mask it and you get on with your life, you move on, but that's not how it works. You need to process it and deal with it before you move on.
yeah.
You're doing
Which
is
is,
constantly putting a plaster over an open wound, that probably needs stitches
yeah, yeah, yeah,
all the time, and it's plaster, the blood, it's bleeding, and constantly it's not the skin's not healing or anything, the wound's not healing, so
yeah,
eventually it bursts, and I don't know. So
yeah. Can't fix massive
yeah,
events, short term fixes.
yeah,
Yeah,
but you think when we do that as human beings, because we just want to move on, don't we? We're like, why dwell on that? That
yeah.
was that. Move on, next thing.
Especially when we're taught that. Yeah,
So no, I totally get that. I totally get that, and that's most of the time when I look back and think about what's triggered things. I think it's
yeah,
it's a number of things. It's not that one thing, because I used to look for that one. I was like, what happened? Why did I get here?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Actually, there's a lot of things I've not dealt with when I look back at my life. Prof-
yeah. And it ties in, just to kind of tie up my point, like
yeah.
um, nothing crazy, but like my mum and when my mum and dad divorced, I didn't see much of my dad.
Mm.
That lit something off, and I was obviously a lot younger than the breakup. That I think I was like 8 or whatever, and I had the breakup when I was maybe 14, and it was that idea of like having a male friend. He was my boyfriend, but also that friendship that I relied on way too much. I was very codependent, and it was my sense of security away from this scary social world. And it was also like that kind of male like figure.
No,
And like they say that your relationship with your parents is kind of your first experience with with a woman and a man, like that kind of dynamic. And as weird as like Freud, whatever his name is,
yeah.
gets, um, it's all related, if that makes sense.
No,
So
totally, totally.
yeah,
And it's filling a void. What
100%.
you were missing, you felt you were missing in your life. My parents broke up similar time as well, got divorced, funny enough, when I was
Yeah.
about 8. so I get what you're saying. I totally get that. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And we
Hard
do.
for a
Was that?
child, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hard.
yeah. It's very tough, but for another episode, there's a long story to the divorce and everything. So
Yeah,
I remember I remember not being too sad about it. So you know to put because I didn't have the best relationship with my father.
yeah,
I wasn't as it wasn't as traumatic in that sense. But then the older you get, you realize you needed a father figure in your life.
exactly.
There's certain behaviors I had that there wasn't a man around in the house, and
For
or
guidance,
it's
yeah.
just a male figure in the house or someone I can look up to in that regards to
Yeah,
um it's almost like give you that type of advice about things and relate to you in that regards. don't get me
yeah,
don't get me wrong, my mom done a fantastic job and she's an amazing woman, but I just felt at times there was mistakes and behaviors I had when my life cuts went off the rails slightly, and then it took me a while to get back. And
same actually. And in hindsight, I think that that was linked. Yeah.
you know, did you talk to anyone at the time? Your support network like when you first got the after you first got diagnosed, and you know,
In university.
yeah,
Oh wow, university were amazing actually. I go to a music uni, and it's yeah, I don't know. It's just it's funny. It's funny because I'm the type of person to like obsessively research like lots of things and mental health and just that journey to like desperately try and like just figure yourself out and everything. I think we all kind of end up doing that at some point.
that's really important, you know, to know you,
Yeah,
to understand it. That's a part of the whole process of being able to manage things better. And
yeah,
like everyone, we just want to get on with our lives. So if we feel things are stopping us from doing that, we need to. That's just going to help you if you can understand it and understand yourself better to move on. So yeah, no,
yeah,
I rate that because that's what I do. I research
yeah,
stuff and look into it. As I was talking to you before I started recording about the long COVID, um, I researched it. I've spoke to specialists and everything
yeah,
about how I can cope and manage it. Because at the end of the day, I just want to get on with things. And I used to always say this to other people about my anxiety and things, that I'm not my anxiety. I
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I don't want that to be what I'm about. So I don't mention. I've not mentioned to a lot of people, a lot of friends, and like, I didn't even know you had COVID and stuff like that, because I don't want that to be what I'm about. Yes, it's something
yeah, yeah,
and yes, I suffer with anxiety pretty badly and depression and things like that. But the thing is, it's
yeah,
about moving on, and
yeah.
that's
You're focused
you
on
know,
moving forward and
yeah, because when I was in hospital with COVID, I was in the hospital for 5 days. So yeah, I was pretty bad on a drip and everything. So yeah, it got to that stage, and the horrible thing was that my wife couldn't even visit me, and family and friends couldn't visit you because it was that type of thing. So it's just you dealing with things on your own and with the nurses and doctors. And the biggest thing in my head was always right. I started looking back on my life and kind of the way it was going and what I really wanted out of life, and I came out. First of all, it wasn't great the way my mindset when I first came out, because I was very
yeah,
angry. I was very angry at kind of where my life was going, because I didn't feel it was going in a positive direction, and I I wasn't where I wanted to be.
yeah, that's always the thing.
And a lot of it, that's mentally and emotionally. The anger was about that I wasn't where I wanted to be and the way I was
Yeah,
feeling in me. So and then the more things went on, I started getting more positive about stuff and realizing that life's too short and just go for what you want. And things happen to you, but don't try not to let them hold you back. And that's easier said than done, of course, because everyone's
yeah,
individual case is different. But I'm just saying, explaining my mindset. And that's kind of we got to podcasting and doing all sorts of plans going forwards. And that's what that's about. Because yes, it's a struggle some days, and some days I don't want to edit videos, some days I don't want to speak to you, Pariah, or whoever. But I just get on with it. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's just kind of my mood right now. But let's move past this and then focus on what you want
Yeah,
to do.
what you can as
Yeah,
well.
because the sense of achievement's the biggest thing, and that pulls you through those times when you're not feeling great. Is that,
Yeah,
so
my
if
happiness is completely attached to what I achieve,
yeah,
whether that's, completely healthy or not. At the moment, that's how I'm coping.
I hear that, and it's the little wins, isn't it?
Yeah, for real.
It's the
Yeah.
li- it's the little wins make the difference. Now I could be really fatigued one day and have extreme fatigue, but ticking off one thing off my to-do list,
Yeah.
I can feel a little better in me.
It's funny because that links right back to kind of where I was going with the university, kind of the importance of that. Not that everyone needs to go to uni, but just in my life, like I honestly think like uni is prob see, I hate saying things like this out loud because it always sounds so drastic when you say it out loud and you think of all the judgment and how other people are going to perceive what you say. But I think, like uni's potentially saved my life, and potentially, well, not like I know as well before, like when I kind of threw myself into performing after a certain some traumas. So I think like it's it's having that routine, that support system,
Oh,
that
definitely.
structure, and those. I think like we're all different. We all have different needs, and we need to really honor them. And I think if you need, my kind of daily lectures just sort me out. Like I
Mhm.
have my interaction with other students, with my tutors. I have the element of socializing. I'm learning stuff. My brain's like focused on other things, and I'm achieving stuff, and I'm doing work, and it's just like proper, just like keeping me going through everything. And I think like the support system also was amazing. Like pretty much anything you need, like will at least be looked into. Like, yeah.
No, that's great. That was there for you, and it was a place that gave you that sense of routine, that focus. That I always say that you seem everything gets worse. You feel things are worse when you don't have that thing to focus on to take your mind
Yeah.
off because it leaves.
I feel like depression's very attached, at least for me, to like purpose and kind of how you see the world. And yeah, like if you're focusing on something you love when you can, sometimes it doesn't matter, you don't feel anything for anything.
No, it's true.
um, but in general, when you're focusing on what you love, I think you can at least have that part in this world that's like I can control that, or I can at least
Definitely,
work
definitely
towards that.
a sense of purpose. Yeah, no, I'm with you totally. Did you have any counselling over the years? Did it?
Yeah. Yes, I had. I think I was 15 when I first had. That was counseling. I'm not actually sure the difference between like therapy and counseling, or if there is one. I know there's obviously lots of different types of therapy and things like that, because I had what was called counseling, which is pretty much the same as therapy in my experience, as in. Actually, no, I think I see the difference. I don't know. But and then after, when I was maybe 18, I had CBT.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a completely different form. That's not necessarily sitting and talking to someone and talking through things with someone. It's literally like, let's do this exercise, find out why your brain is, your thoughts are connected to your behavior, connected to your, whatever, and just triggers, and figuring stuff out a bit more methodically, where that didn't necessarily work for me, even
Mhm.
though I think bits of it were very helpful, like this, like the odd exercise. um
It's good you said that because I had CBT as well, and I thought the same. It didn't work for me either.
yeah,
I wanted
it's
someone I
completely
could
different,
talk to,
isn't it?
and the woman I was with was just constantly, no, 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 we need to do this, we need to do that. So it was just like, what? I've got these emotions and feelings. I really would need someone to talk to and express myself to.
Yeah, and
It,
it's not that.
it's all about the actions and how you're gonna get past this, move on, deal with your emotions, and giving you tasks in order to manage, depression or anxiety or whatever.
The funny thing is as well, like a lot of it was like discovering your triggers
Mm,
through like literally a worksheet. So okay, you've had a mood swing. What has happened in the last kind of half an hour or whatever that you think might have triggered it? What's led up to that? What were your literal thoughts, like word by word, like that, literally um what do you call it? Like I don't know, a chart box exercise or whatever.
diary.
Yeah, or just a diary, but literally like with columns and like, structure. And what I've realized is that I'm in therapy now, which is the best I've ever
Yes.
had. Because of the as weird as this sounds, because of the collaboration aspect. I think counseling was a little bit more me talking at a woman, and she would just ask questions to help to guide me to further thingy that.
Yeah.
But I think I am so in like I I'm someone I think that needs quite a little bit of support with certain things. So, and as embarrassing as that sounds, because I feel like people are just like, oh my God, like grow up, get a grip. But like my therapy now, like she's just there with me on it. She'll ask questions to help me further develop
Yeah.
like the thought or whatever, similarly to how counseling was, but she'll also suggest things. She'll always say, no, but you're doing fine, and that seems a bit overcritical, or the other way around. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just a bit of a reality check within everything that's very loving and you
That's good.
know gentle, but yeah.
I'm happy you've got good support. How were your family and friends when you got diagnosed and dealing with your depression?
um I don't. I to think about it, I don't even know if they actually know I'm officially diagnosed. I probably mentioned it within. Yeah, no, they know I've got kind of like a mentor within uni, and obviously they know that you have to have a diagnosis and go through a process for that. So yeah, I think so. As far as like my immediate family, um, was what did you say? Sorry, how did they react?
Yeah, how was the reaction? Was it were they very supportive or
I don't want to be like um I don't know. I can't really pinpoint all of that. I'm in a bit of a confusing space with all of that because I feel like yeah, I don't know. I think some people don't get it
mm,
fully, and that's not doesn't mean to be like a horrible criticism. I think there's more. I think when with your family, I think they just want you to be happy,
yeah.
but it's so do I. Like I'm trying. I'm
I'm with
trying.
you. I'm with you.
Promise.
Yeah, if life was so simple, eh? The
But
smart pariah, you'll be happy. You lead a happy life.
but like as in obviously joking aside, like they
I know what you
just
mean. I know what you mean.
yeah, they just want you to be it comes from a loving place. But
Yeah.
I think when there's a lack of understanding,
Mm,
it's just so unhelpful.
yeah.
It's so unhelpful. I think it's there's been times where like there's been like this situation is really clear cut that was trauma I went through, and they've been there and been amazing and been my rock. And there's other times where basically if I'm sad for no reason kind of in the like perception, then I think it's a bit harder to get. And when you're trying to figure stuff out for yourself, it's just the one thing I have is like when you're kind of you already, especially like the self-loathing aspect of depression and the kind of low self-esteem aspect, that's like you could talk about that part for hours. That's such a massive part of it, about how you feel about yourself. So when you're constantly telling yourself, get up, you're lazy, like, come on, let's just get on with things. Why can't you just function normally? Why can't you do this, do that, criticizing yourself, then if someone else comes along and goes, come on, get up, da, 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 and almost says the same things, it's not the way to go about it. And I get it, it must be really hard to deal with, but I think there's ways to be like, come on, like I saw a really good video. Sorry, just quickly. I'll maybe send you the link or something, but it was, and I can't remember the woman's name, but it was basically called How to Deal with Your Loved Ones Who Have Depression. And it was just like,
I like
she
that.
was like, tell them like, I believe in you, like you can do this, why don't we make this plan? Just like gentle suggestions. And I know that might feel a bit like, this is just coming from my insecurity, I think, but I know it might feel like you have to baby someone a little bit. It might feel like that for them, but it's, say pointing out the kind of obvious is not helpful.
Yeah, well, and also when you said that about people not really understanding and kind of getting that, I then started thinking about um, in ethnic communities and how mental health is perceived.
Yeah.
Um, you made me think about that and kind of conversations I could try and have with certain individuals in my family, and it may
Mm.
not, it may not be what's the word I'm looking for? Accepted, not accepted, but understood,
Yeah.
or
And obviously, to some extent, it's not really acknowledged at all.
yeah,
Like
there
in
you go.
some places, I think that that's a massive one. Like that's literally like a talked about thing. Like in ethnic minorities, and also like just I think there's so many different things. Like because we have such like gender expectations, all these
Mm,
different expectations. There's all these set ways we're supposed to be, and also like the older generation didn't have such
yeah,
a conversation about mental health, so there's
yeah,
also that.
yeah. That wasn't talked about when my mum and dad came to England from the West Indies in the 60s. You
And
know,
they have it tough because of that, like
that wasn't talked about. Like mental health, that we talking about. We're dealing with racism and discrimination. Like, what does mental
yeah,
health fit into this situation? Like,
which makes you feel worse because it's like we are so weak, but like at the end of the day, like we have, it doesn't like mental health problems exist, and it doesn't help with validation when there's any type of like comparison or anything linked to expectations or anything like that. It is what it is.
I see it as a strength. I don't see it as a weakness. I get what you're saying in that regards, though, because of the struggles they had, my parents. Um, but I see it as a strength because you are acknowledging you yourself, yeah, and what makes you and how best for you to function, and being in touch with your feelings, your emotions, your mental
Yeah,
state, and how to improve that. That's a strength, because a lot of people
yeah,
can go through their lives just ignoring this.
you're
And
not self-aware as well,
yeah,
which is how you then hurt other people too. Like a lot of it for me is like, okay, I want to be, a good person. I want to have the energy to be there for people. I want to be in the mindset where I don't just have to like hyper focus all about myself just to get basic stuff done. I want to be able to actually share energy.
yeah.
Uh,
And this video, this podcast will do that. You see what I mean? So it's a strength because you can help others through your experiences and what you're dealing with. And don't get
yeah,
me wrong, my parents went through a lot and they were strong as well, but in a different way.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. It's all just completely different.
You see
I
what
think one
the
one
different
thing,
time,
yeah,
different time.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think one frustration is like when you feel like people think you're exaggerating or like almost kind of making up your like your challenges, and I think it doesn't
That is
like
frustrating. That is frustrating.
because it just brings you back to square one.
Yeah. But I think you said the key thing there. You said when these people don't matter. You need to focus on you. No matter how close you think you are with people, and they say what they say, focus on you. Focus
Yeah,
on
well,
you.
yeah, but it's hard for some people when,
Of course,
their family don't get it or whoever close to
of
them.
course. And
Uh,
I couldn't have conversations with certain family members about certain things, which is it's just the way it is. It's a different time,
yeah,
different generation, or you can't connect with people on certain things, or you
yeah,
you may have certain family members who aren't connected to to these things and are open to it. So it is what it is, though, and that's what I am with life. I don't really dwell on that. That is what it is. You just need to make sure you have a place you can go to get the support you need. And that might not be your family member. That might be a close friend. That might be your therapist. That might be
yeah.
what.
I absolutely, I'm not. This is probably not, for some people wouldn't be healthy, but I leave that down to my therapist.
Yeah,
She's paid to
that's
do
fine.
it. She's trained to do it. She knows how to speak to me. Like, I think my family have been like amazing and really supportive at different times. But like I said, there's the odd disconnect sometimes,
Yeah,
on the kind of the little occasion, and I think I've learned not to put too, and as well, like I say family, like I'm in my head, I'm kind of including friends and partners as well, like kind of just all your relationships. I think you can be vulnerable with people. um oh, I don't want to, like, I don't know. I just think I've ended up feeling like very disappointed a lot of the time from certain relationships, and I just think I'm in the place now where I'm just like, no, that's for my therapist. Like, I need to be able to express my basic emotions to people in my life, but everything deep and all that, like, that's for my therapist. Like,
that's fine. It doesn't matter where you get the help as long as you do. Support, shall I say, is a
yeah,
better word than help.
yeah, therapy is the best.
You know. So do you have any coping mechanisms or techniques that you use to get to have a better state of mind or focus?
Journaling is really good.
Yeah.
Um, I, to be honest, I'm a bit like, well, no, I'm not lazy with it at all because a lot of my writing is songwriting.
Okay.
So, um, yeah, it's basically songwriting and journaling, and they kind of go hand in hand. In my sessions with a therapist, we'll write down specific things and like work through certain things. And then I guess really in my own time, I tend to just, yeah, songwrite, and that's a big thing.
And go on podcasts and they help.
Yes, and talk to someone who gets it and is lovely, and yeah. And yeah, and routine. I think like so
Yeah,
much of it is down to figuring out what you need, isn't it? Like, just routine, what helps, just really try and focus on what makes a difference. It can be a bit chaotic because you're kind of tracing back every single little thing. Oh, did I sleep right? Did I eat right? All of these things work into our health, obviously. Did I get out enough? Does it really affect me? Am I socializing enough? And I think it's just like slowly breaking things down, kind of going to basics and just tracing back what helps you and what doesn't, and
definitely.
write it down once you know what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely. Write it down. Know thyself. I always say that. That's the only way you can move forward. You know.
100%.
How has lockdown been for you? How have you found it?
Um, it's funny because at the start I was like, "Oh, this is great." I'm like the biggest introvert ever. Like, obviously, like the initial reaction was like, "Okay, this is terrifying." Like, people, on a serious note, like, people are dying.
Mm,
We don't know what this is. This is something we can't control. We don't know um, how to kind of keep it under wraps. But on a personal level, I was just like, okay, I don't have to leave the house. I can just like kind of be in my own space.
I get.
And more importantly, I was kind of, because the thing with I know I'm obviously making jokes about it. It's not to be joked about, but the reason that was a thing for me was because in my first year of uni, my depression had just like gone off the charts, like pretty much like just before I started or around the time I started. And a lot of my attendance sometimes would be great, and other times like I was just missing lectures, which is money, knowledge.
Yeah.
You need to attend your lectures. And a lot of the time I'd wake up and I'd just be like, I can't see people, I can't see people. I just And it would just be silly things like, oh, like sometimes it would be about my appearance or my clothes or just stupid stuff, or I'm feeling a bit awkward, just whatever. So to be honest, COVID eliminated that barrier for me,
Mm,
because I didn't have to wake up and be like, oh my God, I just want to stay in bed. I want to, whatever, or I can't see people. I would just have to get up and get online, and I could be in my own space and just get my stuff done, and I can have as much interaction as I wanted
yeah,
as
control.
far as conversation. So on a serious note, that was why I was like, yes. Like as far as, and hopefully and as well, I did see it as like, this is going to be really hard for people, but on the other hand, we're like, this might change a lot about how we live, obviously. And it might, it helps the environment. It might make us just look after ourselves a bit better. And yeah, I just think it's been like a massive learning curve. And I'm in like a very lucky situation. Like I just kind of was in a place where, okay, now I just have to focus on uni because of work problems and things like that. Like I was, very privileged. So I can't imagine what other people have been through.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like a test, isn't it? All of this stuff. That's what I look at. Like going
Yeah.
through these
And to
times,
you as well, like
diff-
can't imagine.
yeah, difficult times. How can we manage them and kind of make the most of it in a positive way? So it's not a great thing.
Yeah.
Cooped
I
up. Can we upskill ourselves? Can we learn something? Can we something we've always wanted to do? Kind of look at it that way.
Literally, yeah. Probably came across really ignorant there. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh, you
kind of
did?
make a joke out of everything, but
No.
um as on the anxiety side, I was like, great, I can, but as well, like it's all gone the other way.
Mm,
Now, then I got to a point of completely isolating myself, being
yeah.
a like complete recluse, not leaving the house. And I'm still kind of working through that now. So as great as it might be for someone who likes their own space and gets a bit overwhelmed by kind of the world, it can also go completely the other way, where there's nothing to get out for now.
Yeah.
There's no,
I hear you.
so you have to manage yourself on a different level. So yeah, everyone's had their own um journeys.
Definitely, 100%. Talk to me about music, a big part of your life. What impact has that had on your life?
Yeah, massive. Like it's always been there. Like I knew from being young I wanted to be, um well, it started just wanting to perform. I loved being on stage. I felt comfortable there. Well, actually I didn't at the start, but I knew I wanted to be comfortable there because it was just this great experience, and I just felt like it was the one thing I could do. I had a natural stage presence, but you
Okay.
need a talent to to get on stage for. So and my voice was like, so I had to like learn to sing. And I grew up just loving music, really feeling just happy listening to like 90s R&B and like all the good stuff. And yeah, just wanted to make a difference through performance somehow. And I tried musical theatre with singing, dancing, and acting and things like that. And
Mm.
now
Do
the thing that started me was songwriting, to be honest. So
you remember when the love for music began? Do you remember that first track or song or whatever that done it for you? That you was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to.
I think it must have been early because there's like some funny childhood like stories. Um, I don't know how old I would have been when still wait, was it still Dre? No, it was Dre and Snoop.
Still Dre, what a tune. It was that.
I can't. I'm like meshing different tracks together, but it was a Snoop and Dre track, like the really flipping famous one. I don't know. I can't
What
remember.
can you remember the video ish?
Yeah, the Lowriders. I
Yeah,
was tiny, low, like.
are they just mainly around in the lowriders?
It's still Dre. It's still Dre.
Still Dre, yeah. If it's
Right.
like
Sorry, I just had to do a quick
no,
Google to
it's fine, it's
check what's
fine.
going on.
I'm a music man, so I just need a little description. I could get it. So
Yeah, like I should have used you as my Google.
that's a good one. I'm gonna use that, you know.
Knowledge.
Music anyway. Music and football and what else? A bit of Black history. Um,
Yeah.
that's me. But yeah, still Dre. Wow, what a tune to remember that got your love for music.
Well, I don't know if that was the song, but I
Oh,
remember
that's
being
what you
like
remember. Yeah.
little, very like in a like car seat little, I think, and like saying like the words I was like the words I wasn't supposed to be
I was
saying at
gonna
night.
say.
And my mum and dad like,
I was
well,
gonna say that.
just laughing.
Listen lyrics, yeah.
Yeah, hip hop was a big thing actually. Like,
It was
yeah,
amazing time there, that period there when he brought out that album. Like
crazy.
2001 or 2002? It's 2001, was it? Something like that. And he,
Wow. Yeah, I would have been like 6. So yeah, it's probably like
2001,
I don't know.
2000. I need to look. I can't believe I've forgotten that. Can you believe that? The name of the album. Wow, what's going on here? That's how long I haven't listened to it. But yeah, that was amazing when he brought out that track.
I know that was just like a whole nother time. I really wish I was like active in the 90s. Like,
That was
like
my time. That was my time there. See, that was my partying and out at clubbing and stuff like it was something else, man. That was that vibe of going out, forget the pretentiousness. You're just
like,
out, you're just out there having a good time, nothing else. No one was that concerned about the way you're dressed or things like that. It was just about getting the
literally,
vibe and the music and all the other rubbish now you see nowadays. I'm saying that because obviously that was my time, but it might be a
yeah.
bit for people partying now, but for me, it's not the same. It's just not as it was. I don't know. You had more of a sense of community and stuff, like the party goers and the vibe
Yeah.
was different, man. Meeting people all the time from all over the world.
And it's crazy because, like, I honestly feel like the internet played a massive part in that, obviously, because I feel like we're so, like, physically disconnected. And, like, back then, like, the internet was just, like, cool and, like, new and exciting and, like, a bit, bit more, like, positive, I'd say, in some ways. And just, yeah, there wasn't the social media disconnect of
Yeah,
people.
that was all before like all these Instagram and all this Snapchat nonsense come up. So
Yeah, stressful.
I'm calling it nonsense, but I actually like it and use it. But I mean, like you didn't think about stuff like that. It was all about
Yeah.
I remember going back to like my first mobile, a brick phone, a Nokia.
Classic
You know,
Nokia.
like
Oh,
that's
the big thing. Hello. It's like that sketch.
and using phone boxes, making phone calls.
Oh,
Oh man, or like
sounds
yeah,
like the dream, honestly.
was that?
Sounds like the dream. Sounds so good.
It was weird though because they're like the worst thing, the most embarrassing things were like if a girlfriend called the family home because it's on the landline. Like my mom would
Just
pick up
stand
the
there with
receiver, and then my mom would pick up the phone that was downstairs and be like, "Are you on the phone?" It's so embarrassing. Like all those things. I'm so glad when you had your own mobile, your own number. So don't get me wrong, some things changed for the better. Because I was trying to live that down. Like your mum picked up the phone while you're talking to me. Like, oh.
Oh my god.
So
I love
embarrassing, all those little things. So no, it moved for the better, that, because like having your own number and
and
your
like the dial-up tone for the internet, like you on the phone, like that oh, nostalgia.
oh dear. How do you
That's
think
like
music
that's sorry,
uh,
go on.
how do you think music has helped your mental health?
Like I said, writing is a massive part. I think before I think it's funny because obviously like I grew up like really just like vibing with music and just being like, yeah, like I like this. I think everyone like has their own special memories of growing up with music. And but then almost separately was the writing, the songwriting, to kind of process my thoughts and just life and also do it for fun and whatever. And I kind of was like, okay, I need to in my head when I think I started writing when I was like 12 and I was and there it wasn't bad as well. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't bad. And I was just like in my head, I'm writing for someone, for an artist, for someone who's got a great voice because I didn't have a great voice when I was younger. And then I was like, okay, I'll learn and then I can also perform and then yeah, I actually started singing my own songs. So
Yeah, you should feel proud of that. That's an achievement, isn't it? You went from not being able to sing to being able to sing, not being able to produce to be able to produce, not being able to songwrite. Now you can songwrite. You know, let's focus on the positives, Pariah.
100%. I thought that's a work in process. I think and here's me like trying to blame it on the world again and everyone else, but like I yeah, it's hard. I feel like music, even just little. See, I'm getting like shy again, but I just feel like music isn't always taken seriously as a career. Like really in England, I feel like like well, a lot more where it's become like everyone's trying to do that, but I think even in our education system maybe it was just the school I went to. I don't know. Obviously, it's not. This is my perspective, but I feel like it's one thing as well that made me realize it was like we had an American vocal teacher in university, and he was like, we learn the scales and bits of theory like it was our alphabet. We from we nursery rhymes were like do re mi, for example, like that's something we were taught in university, and he's like, I was learning that from like whatever age. Like it's just a bit more in the. I feel like music's a bit more integrated in America in the American education system. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just my own insecurity, but I feel like it's not always.
Looked upon it as a career or a worthwhile career, a fruitful. Like you can make
Yeah, it's
you
like
can
that view of like, oh, the sorry.
you can make a good living out of it or type thing. It's not looked on as one of the like a kid saying I want to be a singer is not someone saying, oh yeah, that's a great idea. You can make lots of money from this.
Exactly. And obviously some of it is like, okay, fair enough. Like some parts of the industry you can be shooting in the dark a little bit to just come across opportunities instead of, like applying for whatever kind of um job. But yeah, I think there's the kind of struggling artist aspect to life. And I think even just like with how funding is a lot of the time cut from the arts, I just think there needs to be a little bit more support. And I don't think that's like unreasonable to say.
Yeah, but I think you're doing the right thing. You're down the right path because you're an all-rounder. You're not just a voice. You're not just a voice or just an image. Yeah, and this is where a lot of artists over the down the years and are probably still today are getting ripped off, and a percentage, the production company, the manager, whatever, whoever's behind it all is taken because they're just that voice and an image. When people say, oh yeah, I want to be that person, I think you need to add more strings to your bow so you're getting more of the cut.
That's very true. I think I'm in a bit of like a negative mindset recently, but that is true when you go back to that aspect. Like if you don't know your music business or you don't, you can let your lawyer deal with everything or whatever, but you also need to understand what's being asked of you or what's being offered to you just as much, so you know what's happening with your life.
You
So yeah, things like that are important.
some of the greatest bands, when you talk about the 90s and stuff like that, R&B and stuff like that, how many of them have been bankrupt?
Oof.
Great TLC,
TLC, thank
you
you.
name it. You name it. Even 50 Cent at one point as a rapper.
Yeah, and the
Bankrupt.
whole like NWO thing.
Yeah, you name
Yeah,
it. The list can go on. Just can't remember him for some reason, but
yeah, I'm a bit like buzzing and like information is not happening.
yeah, there's a lot that has happened because they don't know the business.
Yeah.
They're just a voice. They weren't writing. A lot of it was, Babyface, um,
Oh,
So Def, Dallas Austin, uh,
Dark Child.
you know,
Well, that's more
Dark
political.
Child, yeah, Dark Child, all of these Shakespeare Briggs, they were producing and songwriting. And it was just a voice would come, TLC would come along, or whoever would, Destiny's Child would come along, you know,
Yeah. It's
and
yeah,
and
it's
sing.
crazy how like yeah, separated the industry was at one point in that sense, definitely.
Totally.
Like even just like that we've obviously studied that within business and all aspects of the course, but there's also like even just like well, yeah, I'll carry on with my example. Even like with the Motown kind of approach to things, where it was literally Berry Gordy like basing things off of like the Ford system of making car parts. So someone would do this part, someone would do this part of the car, and then it would all come together. And he applied that, obviously, you might already know this. He applied that to the like just record making. So one person or group of people would be the songwriters, this would be the singer, da 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 da. Everyone had their expertise and their strength to come together for like the best of everything. And while that's great, like sadly, yeah, you need to be more multifaceted these days.
Yeah, and that's one great aspect with how it's gone, the industry, is that people are looking to, you have
Yeah.
your own studio on your laptop. That's your music studio.
One beauty of technology, yeah, that we
You're
that
not paying X
amazing.
amount. You're not paying Pharrell, the Neptunes to produce this tune for you and taking X amount of money when that goes to number one, and you're like,
Yeah,
that
or
tune made this amount. Why did I only get that? Like, they're rich. Why am I rich? You're just a voice. They,
yeah,
you're paying for studio time. you pay,
yeah, yeah.
dude, talk about your new music, Pariah. I'm interested. What's been going on? Talk about your new music and what you've been working on.
So it's been really fun and really different the last kind of, well, again, like uni runs my life. So since I've been at uni. Um because whereas before, obviously, and pre-COVID, I was kind of running around performing, doing things by
Mm.
myself, releasing things myself and things like that. Um and now I'm like, yeah, just in a different space, a bit like how you were saying with like people with, I was a bit more focused on kind of the image side of things and like trying to be an artist. Whereas now I'm just like going back to my love and I'm educating myself and I'm building up my skills, like just going back to like education and focusing on my first love, songwriting, and also trying to learn to produce, like you said, and even trying to learn how to produce for like film, adverts, TV,
Really cool.
video games. So yeah, just expanding things, and along with that has just been me producing and writing lots of things, writing as always. So yeah, I'd like to release something soon. But yeah, I've like coursework and stuff.
To speak to you about the film thing, maybe obviously not within this interview, but yeah, that's something I want to go into next, is making
Amazing.
movies. I've got lots of
Yay.
ideas.
Yeah.
and some like treatments for these scripts that I put together. Uh,
So
so I got some stuff going on there. So that's a future thing that we can chat about. Was
no.
you gonna perform a song for me, Pariah? We did talk
Oh
about.
yeah, I forgot. Not even a whole song, but I thought maybe I'll just
Fine.
sing um literally like a few lines. I just wrote a song yesterday, and thought the chorus might be relevant. So yeah.
Quickly before that, could you just mention your socials? Where can people find you?
Yes. So at Pariah to Society, it's PARIAH, the number two, and then Society. And at the moment, yeah, I just have Instagram and yeah, like my YouTube channel is the same name. Yeah, just sticking to YouTube and Instagram at the moment.
Cool. Right. So what are you gonna sing for us?
Oh God.
It's on you now. The screen. You've got the whole screen. You got the
Not
floor
to edit out me being nervous. I do this. No, I'm joking.
with your chili bottle, yeah,
What's that? Sorry.
and your chili water bottle.
Yeah,
They're
keeping
cool.
that
I like them.
water cool. Okay, literally just a few lines. I just thought it was quite relevant. Wrote this yesterday, and yeah, just about thoughts I have and that kind of thing of like, does anyone else feel like that?
Cool.
More.
Brilliant.
Been talking too much. Okay. Do you ever feel like nothing's going how it's supposed to and nobody knows you? Do you ever feel like what you used to love doesn't hold you and it's all over? Do you ever feel like happiness is out there somewhere, even if it's too hard to believe? Do you ever feel like you won't make it that far? 'Cause if you do, you're not alone.
That's pretty amazing considering you couldn't sing before.
Just gotta get in the zone. Just need a little minute.
Yeah, vibe.
Thank you.
Listen, that was really nice. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Nice
Oh, thank you
conversation.
so much.
And thank you for going ahead and doing it. You'd never think that you're shy. You come across outgoing. So that's interesting. You said this.
I'm just having a good day.
It's a good day. That what it's about.
Roller coaster. Yeah, thank you so much for having me and thinking of me. It was really, really fun, and hope I didn't talk your head off.
No, it was good. It was good. It's all about spreading awareness and telling you, speaking your truth. That's what we're here for. And I'll keep in contact and speak to you soon. Have a really nice day. See you later.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Take care.